Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a video, and this video is called the history of Nintendo consoles. Now everybody loves a Nintendo console, but some games are in it and you have fun playing with it. But these consoles have been around for centuries, and we're going to be going through them. Now the first console, which is a Japanese game console, the Color TV Game 6. This Color TV Game 6 console was referenced to Pong since you could play a game reference to it basically. Many people played it and it was a successful console. It was basically Nintendo's first console. Now there was many sequels to this like the Color TV Game 15, maybe the Computer TV Game, Game Block Breaker, and Game Racing 112, which leads us to the NES. Now the NES was a very successful game because of Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. Was actually a game that actually saved the 1983 game crash in 1983. So, there are many games on this. Like, since the American version of the NES was released in 1985, Donkey Kong wasn't only released in 1981. For the NES, was released in 1986. Super Mario Brothers, of course, were released in 1985, obviously. So, Super Mario Brothers, we're not talking about Super Mario Brothers, we're basically talking about consoles. That's what I said from the beginning, but it's okay. So basically, the next one is the SNES that came out in 1991. Now, the first console that came out is the Super Mario World. So Super Mario World was actually known because of was actually popular because of the baby dino Yoshi. Not only that, because it also actually introduced new enemies. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about consoles, right? We're gonna be talking about the Japanese version is the Famicom, or the family computer, you would say. Sometimes you would call it the family computer or Famicom. That's what I forgot to say. So the Famicom basically, the Famicom and the Super Famicom. The Super Famicom is most likely the SNES, but the Japanese version. That's all. So the Japanese version of the Super Famicom, I just told you, it's the Japanese version. So this leads us to the N64, the Nintendo 64. Now, the Nintendo 64 was so successful, they even made references to it. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there is something about the NJS 3D1. There's sometimes the NJS 3D1, I don't know what you could play on it, I just know the console. You might, I think that's what it's called, because I've heard of it many times before, but only half of the people buy it. Somehow. I saw it up on YouTube. And I'll just show it up on the screen. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a console, which is basically most likely like the Nintendo 64, but all you see is Nintendo, but not 64. The N64 was basically released in 1996, and the first game on it was the Super Mario 64. There are so many games that you could play on the N64, like Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, maybe some The Legend of Zelda, and many others. The list goes on and on. Maybe some Kirby 64, and yeah. So we go on to the GameCube. The GameCube was actually a console that looked like a cube. Around its butt, it was actually a pretty successful console that actually allowed consoles into its side when you enter the console. And this GameCube lasted long until 2006 when the Wii was released. The Wii actually had some good things. You could play classical games like Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Brothers 2, maybe some Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, until 2012 when the Wii U came out. The Wii U was basically, people were always complaining about the name because they were always complaining about how the name sucked. Like Wii U, what's that name? Why didn't they name it something else other than Wii U? It's like the Wii, but it's with one extra word after it. You get it? You don't get it? Okay. Anyways, so this Wii U actually you would get it because of the games. If you have heard of the Wii U, maybe there are some games out there when the name like New Super Mario Bros. U, We Fit You, maybe some. Yeah, and Super Smash Bros. U. Yeah, the yeah, and maybe other games with U at the end of its name. There are not that many. There are maybe not many games that have U at the end of the names, but you probably don't get the points of why did they have to add U at the end of its name. So yeah. Basically, it's just a console with basically classical references to the Wii, and maybe some new games like Super Mario Maker and Super Mario 3D World. Those are actually cool games that are actually would buy for free. Basically, I wish that was possible, but it's actually not. It lasted until the Nintendo Switch came out. The Nintendo Switch came out in 2017. In 2017, 1-2 Switch came out. There was Super Mario Odyssey, maybe Namco Museum, maybe others like maybe like the Breath of the Wild, Tetris 99, and like the NES Entertainment System where you could play a bunch of classical video games. And then the SNES Entertainment System, or the SNES, where you could play, the SNES Entertainment System, where you could also play classical video games, but they're 16-bit. That's what I forgot to say, they're 16-bit. So, yeah. There has been some maybe other kind of references. I wouldn't say references, but some new features to the Nintendo Switch. And those two new features, the Nintendo Switch Mini, which is basically a mini version of the Nintendo Switch, which nobody usually wants. I would rather get the regular version. But don't be sad. You still got the Nintendo Switch Lite. And I would kind of offer to buying this, but still, it really does look the same. And the Joy-Cons and it doesn't even come with free Joy-Cons that don't come off. So that's why I won't be buying it. Anyways, what do you think consoles will be next in the future? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and find out. It's really getting close to 2020 if you think about it. Right now it's getting close to 2020. 2020 is coming, so you guys better get ready for the next console. Nintendo Switch is not ending. People will still be playing it, but the next console will come out, I think, in a few years. But I don't know what name it is. Nintendo's still working on that. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you next time.